Hi, I'm Raf from CraftandHue, and welcome back to part 2 of Learning Bambu Studios. In part 1, we went through everything from downloading to installing the software, choosing our printer and different filament type, to slicing and sending off our very first benchy. In this episode, we're going to take things a step further and explore the settings that really shape how your prints come out. We're going to go through the key areas like layer height, strength, infill, adhesion, and then move on to preview tab to see how the changes look before we hit print. By the end, you'll know exactly how to control quality, speed, and the structure of your 3D prints inside Bambu Studio. If you're enjoying the series, smash that like button and don't forget to subscribe if you're new around here so you don't miss out on future episodes. So let's jump in. To begin with, once Bambu Studios are loaded up, we'll go over to the Prepare tab and you'll have yourself an empty plate. From here, we're going to right click and go down to Primitive and click on Cube, and then same thing again, and we'll click on Sphere. These two shapes will help us visualize how different settings affect flat and curved surfaces. Okay, so now that we've got our objects on the plate, we have our cube and sphere. We're going to now look at the move, which lets you reposition your model anywhere on the build plate. The shortcut key for that is M, or on the top bar, you've got the move on the toolbar. As you can see, there's 3 colored arrows. You've got your red, green, and blue. These represent the X, Y, and Z axes as denoted up here. You can also drag the object to your desired position, and you can also switch between world coordinates or object coordinates. World coordinates keeps the movement aligned with the build plate. Object moves with the models relevant to its own orientation. Great if you've already got something rotated. So next we're going to look at the rotate, which is the R command, and again you'll see some rotating colored rings, again representing the X, Y, and Z axes. You can drag on any axis you want to do your rotation. Again, there's 2 modes available, so you've got your relevant and you've got your absolute. Relevant rotates the model's current position, handy for small tweaks, and absolute rotation snaps it back to the global axis if it's imported at a strange angle. Correct orientation is key for print stability, surface quality, and reducing the need for support. So for now, we're just going to undo what we've just done and go back to normal. Next, we're going to look at the scale. The shortcut for scale is S, or you can click the scale icon. Scale is adjusted via percentage, or you have the option of size, which is millimeters. You also have uniform scaling to keep proportions equal across all axes, or you could turn it off just to stretch one dimension. So for example, if we go on our Y axis and we make it 200% bigger, because I have uniform scale on, it increases the size by 200%. If I take uniform off and increase by 200%, it'll only increase one side. And let me just zoom in for a closer look. So we no longer have a cube. And that is how scale works. Right, finally, we're going to have a look at lay on face. The shortcut for lay on face is F. This automatically flattens the model to the build plate. Perfect for fixing oddly imported angles. You have 2 options available here. You have the convex hull or the triangular facet. Use the model outer shape to do the alignment. So as it is currently, we could click there, and I'm now laying on the top section. Click there and it will do the bottom. If I click on the triangular, from here it will pick triangles. So these are the mesh triangles. I think you can see it a bit better on the curved. So here you can see there's loads of different triangles. So that is the actual mesh. So for example, I want to lay it on this, and it's just moved it onto that face. But I'm going to undo that now because I don't want it doing that. Right, so that is the lay on face function. Before we start adjusting settings, let's look at print profiles. If you can't see the print profiles because you're in the object section, you follow basically processes and click on global, and these are your print profiles here. Now I've got a few custom profiles on top, which we're going to ignore for now as we are new starting out. You'll probably have just the default standard ones. Again, excellent choices, really well set up. Each profile sets the layer height, wall thickness, and infill automatically, but you can fine tune them at any point. For this demonstration, we're going to go with the 0.16mm optimal. This gives us a nice balance of speed and smooth details. Now that we've picked our print profile, let's break down some of the key settings inside, because this is where slicing really comes to life. You'll find the main controls on the right hand side. You'll see the process tab, and you've got some options of global and object. Global settings affect objects on the build plate, keep all under the same print parameters, whereas object settings, on the other hand, let you fine tune the individual object. For instance, giving the cube a denser infill while keeping the sphere lighter for quicker printing. For this guide, we're going to stay with global since it's the easiest way to learn how these settings interact, so that's where we're going to go. So first things we're going to look at now are the layer height. This controls how thick each printed layer is. A smaller layer height gives you smoother curves and finer detail, perfect for the sphere. Larger layer lines print faster and are great for simpler shapes like the cube. For now, we've picked the 0.16, which is what you'll see here. Again, you can change this as and when you feel like, but for now, we're going to leave that as it is. So next we're going to go on to the strength section, where we're going to look for walls, which is the wall loops, and walls control the outer shell of the model. More walls means smoother and stronger prints, but takes a bit longer. Personally, I usually keep between 2 to 3. So 2 walls on normal, and if I need extra durability, I got 3 walls. Again, you can experiment with this in the future to see how your prints come out. Next, we're going to look at the top and bottom shells. So that's the top shell layer, and you have the bottom shell layer. They are the solid layers your model has on the top and the base. So if we can see here we got top shell layer 6. I normally use between 5 and 6. I've never found a need to adjust these. And you got the bottom layer of 4. Again, never really found a need to adjust these. But again, if you feel like you need to make an adjustment, by all means, it's something you're going to have to play around with, because that all depends on different prints. The next section we're going to look at is the surface print pattern. So that's the top surface print pattern, and you have a bottom surface print pattern. So these controls how the layers are filled. For now, we're going to be using the monotonic as it gives a clean, even finish, and we'll look at others in the future episodes. So you do have other patterns we can look at. So depending on what sort of finish you have, we will do a separate video on this, because these are actually quite interesting, and I will show you guys how to do that, because you can make some nice, easy, stylish posters or wall art from this. So that is something we can do in a future episode. Then next, you've got the Sparse Infill, which is down here. So this is basically the structure inside your print. Once we slice it, I'll show you exactly what that is. We're going to go for the grid. Again, you've got loads of different types of infill patterns. And again, in another video, I will show you what each pattern is used for, because each one has a different use case. And obviously, print time will go up and down depending on what one you're using. So that is something we'll mess around in the future episodes. Right, the next section we're going to look at is support. So in the support section, supports help with overhang, like on the underside of the sphere. So just here, you can see here, that's where you would normally use support. Normally a brim would be used, which is normally used for adhesion to the build plate. Because of the contact points on the sphere, it's only got a small contact point. So if we look at the top here, I'll zoom in a bit so you can see it a bit better. See this section here? That's all that's actually going to be touching the build plate. So normally you would give it a brim and it'll pull it out a bit more, just to give you a bit more contact to hold the sphere in place. That is something I believe Bambu will do that itself once we slice. And if it doesn't, we're going to come back here and we'll enable it. Now that we've done that, we're going to go to slice plate to generate the G code. So there's 2 ways of doing this. You can click on slice plate, or you can go to preview. We're going to click on preview, and then it will do a slice. And as you can see, nothing's changed. No, I'm joking. I'm going to give you these options here. So currently using color scheme filament. You do have other ones to pick from, and we will go through them in 2 seconds. But for now, this is my finished slice of my print. And let me just see if I can change the color. Yeah, I've got black. Does that make it easier to see? Yeah, I think that makes it a bit easier to see over the white. You'll see print time, which is here. You've got filament usage here, and you've got the estimated cost. Over here, you'll see on the layer slider, which at the top gives us the 40 minutes that this is going to take to print. But if we slide down, what we can see is the first layer of our print. So as you can see here, let me zoom in on my not so cube now. Here we can see our walls. So we selected 2 walls. So here you can see the outer and inner wall, and that will go up and down depending on how many walls we select. This is the infill pattern or bottom pattern we picked, and top pattern. So that's the pattern we've got. Over here, you'll notice on our sphere that this circle is a lot bigger than the top one we originally looked at. So this is what you would call a brim pattern. So that's just holding the sphere in place a bit more than it needs to. That's just going to stop it from coming off the build plate while it's printing. So what you can do now is use the slider. You can move it up slowly just to see how it fills itself in. So now you've got a better idea of how the infill works. So this is at 15% infill that you can adjust. Normally you would go between 15 to 25% infill. I've never really found a reason to go higher. Again, don't go any lower than the 15% unless you're just prototyping, because you do lose a lot of internal strength from your print. And then what we're going to do now, if I click on here and we go to line type, okay, line type, each color here represents different functions. So you got your outer wall, you got your inner walls. If we're looking at these, they cover about 33.6% of your print, and then our sparse infill covers another 28.6%, and so on and so forth. So that's what you can see from there. We can see our total filament usage is going to be 16.4 grams. So here you can see all of that will add to the total of our filament usage. You've got our total cost, so that is filament cost. And then here we got the model prepare time and then the model printing time, which will give us a total time of 40 minutes and 3 seconds. So you can individually see what areas you want to focus on. So for example, we could see, I'm interested to see the travel time, because you can see here it says 3 minutes and 37 seconds we used on traveling. So we can see here that it's got a nice tight pattern on the cube. But if you look on the sphere, it's all over the place. Again, this is something we can adjust in settings just to make it tighter and maybe save a bit of time on the travel time of the head. On these smaller prints, it doesn't really matter because you're not going to save a lot. But on larger, longer prints, that is something you can do to make a saving. And then you can switch to speed view, which is this one here. Let me just make this full size so you can actually see how it would print, how it's going to print. So here you can see a nice colored chart, should we say, on our sphere. It probably actually looks a lot better on our sphere. So let me just zoom in. So on our sphere, you can see it starts on a pink, which is nice and slow. And then eventually what it does is it's going to go faster and faster and faster. And again, this is what modern 3D printers are able to achieve. They're able to achieve really fast speeds. So as you can see, it's going to print nice and slow to begin with and slowly just increase its speed to eventually it's going to get up to around, I'd say 248, 282. And then if we look to the top, it just starts slowing down at the top on the finished parts. But if we look at our cube, you see what I was saying about, because it's got smoother edges, it can actually initially hit a faster speed to begin with. And then obviously, because it's not a cube no more, more of a rectangle, it just slows itself down a bit here in the middle. And then it's going back up again to a nice fast speed just to finish itself off. Right, so that's the speed. So now that we've looked at all of these, we can now save the G code. So here again, you've got 2 options. You can download the G code and save it to your USB stick or SD card and take it down to your printer and manually put it in. I'm going to use my network, so we can send that directly to the printer. So what we're going to do is go print and send it to the printer. What I'm going to do is actually I'm going to print on my P1S because my X1 is actually printing something currently. Bear me 2 seconds. Let me just switch them around. So nothing's changed. We're going to go to print and let me just change that over to the craft. Very original names, guys. Yeah. So I haven't got no black. So we're going to print in this nice gray and we're going to send. So on my P1S, it's going to take 38 minutes, 57 seconds. I'm going to use 15.91 grams of filament. I've confirmed my plate is the PEI textured. That's my printer I want to send it to. And again, this is your last chance. If you want to change filaments and you have got an AMS module, you can pick whatever filaments you've got in that AMS module, just in case you've decided, oh, wait, hang on a minute, I didn't want to use that. I think it's grey blue. I wanted to print in white, so you pick white. And even though it's got the grey blue and originally picked on the print bed, you can still change. So just a quick tip if you need to. So we'll send that off to the print, and then this will just download to the printer and automatically change over to device. So now it's just going to download what we've just assigned, and it's now ready. So it's saying here it's printed 0 of 320 layers, 38-minute print time, estimated to finish at 10:30 at night. Yeah, dedicated I am to you guys. Right, we're going to hit play. And this is the P1S just setting itself up. So the bed's just got to temperature here, as we can see, and now the head's just heating up. Now what it's going to do is it's just going to clean out the head from the filament of my last print, and then it will do a bed leveling, and then it will start its print, and we will shift over to our time lapse. Right, the print is all complete. So this is our rectangle / cube. Right, as you can clearly see, it's printed quite well. I don't know if you guys can see the little line here. So that's where the printer slowed down. So it's not really a defect. You got to really be looking at it to see it. But yeah, so where the printer slowed down a bit, you can see there's a bit of a change or a bit of a line. But again, not the end of the world. So this is the sphere. Again, print out excellently. But if you can see here, that's what I called the brim. It's actually not a brim. It's actually a part of the actual sphere. So what we might need to do in the future is, if we want to print an actual sphere, we'll have to probably surround it in some sort of support material to hold it off the build plate and to get a perfect sphere. Again, something we can look at in future episodes. And that wraps up part 2 of my Learn Bambu Studio series. Today we went through slicing to printing to see how every setting impacts the final result. In the next episode, we're going to start looking at object-specific settings, adjusting individual models on the same plate, and diving deeper into print profiles. If you've got any constructive feedback on this video, or if this topic you'd like me to cover, let me know in the comment section below. It's still early days for me with tutorials, so your input really helps shape the future of episodes. If you found this helpful, smash the like button and subscribe, and check out the full Learn Bambu Studio playlist link at the end of the video. I'm Raf from CraftandHue, and thanks for watching, and happy printing.